Hello, time for another LoadingReadyRun Fan Draft, and this looks like a reasonable card to go for. I've had a lot of fun with this thing. It has a lot of potential. It's not perfect. Sometimes it just doesn't quite do anything, but most of the time it's going to go pretty well. Other than that, this isn't a particularly great pack. I mean, this guy is very nice, and then there's, you know, a few reasonable other cards. There's not a great deal in here, so happy to get the only super powerful card in the pack, or at least the one of the two. So let's take that and see where it leads us. Okay. So black then. Oh, if only I could just take all of these black cards at once, I would be quite happy. Hopefully one of these comes back. I think there's a reasonable chance of that, because someone will take the Inferno Fist and the Peel or the Path Mage. And then like a couple of these, and maybe the Sentinel. Maybe we're not going to get something back. But it's possible. I do think Tormentor's better than any of these. Though I would be happy to pick up any of these. Okay. So nothing really exciting in white or black. But this is pretty much the only moderately playable card. But not particularly rushing to pick that up quickly. So we have green, we have colourless, which is probably what I'm going to take. Not too exciting a pack, to be quite honest, but there's a pretty good green card, a pretty good red card, playable white card, and not a whole lot in terms of colour signals. So okay. What a completely unexciting packet. Take the Death Touch guy. Sort of hedge into green, because there was a reasonable green card in the last pack as well. Like, it's not like a super strong signal, but it's like two reasonable green cards in a row. Or just the Sentinel, which isn't terrible. I think I'll just go for the Sentinel, just on the basis that it's still colourless. It continues to keep our options open. Continuing to be unexciting. Into the Void, I think. It's not really. I don't want to play like Black Cat unless I can avoid it. Solemn Offering is a sideboard card, and that's sort of our colours, and then red doesn't have anything exciting, green doesn't have anything exciting, blue has Into the Void. Hot Soup I don't think doesn't go with anything we have so far. So, yeah. Okay, Blood Host is a real card. So yeah, this is a solid card, and you know, this thing is not terrible. So yeah, it makes me think that maybe it was just the black was particularly weak in those packs rather than someone's actually picking it all up. because there's a reasonable amount of playable black here. So maybe we'll be able to play this Tormentor. White is still particularly empty, and all we've got to go for it is the Spirit Bonds anyway, so we may just very well not be in white. We'll see. Shade, perhaps? Not running much else here. You could try to go for Rummaging Goblin, but I don't think red's open. So, go with the shade. We take another Blood Host. Kind of stacked up on 5s at the moment. We take Carrion Crow. Try to lower the curve a little bit. No, maybe no. I think I'll just take this as a creature. It's not a great creature. I mean, if you don't care about the milling, it's basically the same as Swift Claw, but for an additional mana. But on the other hand, it's still a guy. Not the most amazing guy in this format, but still. Ooh. So one of the cards that we wanted came back. Not one of the ones that we really wanted, but would still play it. Sure. I don't think we're running either of these, certainly not in the main. And Research Assistant is acceptable, I think. Not by a lot. We'll take Solemn Offering just on the off chance, but we're not white. Sure. Probably going to cut it, but it doesn't really go well with a lot of things. I mean, maybe on the Shade or on Juggernaut, but that's not really what Blue-Black wants to do with the... Blue-Black doesn't have a lot of just annoying guys that they just want to push through somehow. They either already fly, or they're defensive, or it doesn't really go well with Blue-Black's game plan. And Island. Someone's taking a while with their picks. Alright, so I don't think these are worth money online, or at least not enough that I'm going to pick it up just for that reason. I may pick it up just because there's not much else for us. I mean, I'm probably just going to take Typhoid Rats. Could take Divination. Jeez, with the unexciting opens. Could try taking Lightning Strike. We don't have a lot of blue cards that are that exciting, so we're still technically open. I could try taking Lightning Strike and moving in. I could try taking Undergrowth Scavenger to go with Necromancer's Assistant and just try to move into that deck. But I'm not really convinced that that's a good deck, so Typhoid Rats. Oh, okay, it's Spirit. Whoops, almost missed that it was there. Okay, that was actually easy. Okay, so now removal? We don't really have any yet, and we kind of want some, especially in black. So, removal. More removal? Or Sided Blood? Or take 2 damage a turn? These are all options except for the last one, because yeah. No. Sided Blood, Ulcerate. Sided Blood, Ulcerate, Sided Blood, Welcome turn. I think we want Ulcerate just because Flesh to Dust is currently our only removal spell. And we kind of want those. Sided Blood would be nice, but hopefully we can pick one up at some point. Or hopefully we can pick up a Divination, so that we have similar effect without actually having to pay life for it. Frostlinks is good, and that'll help cement us in blue a little bit. And there's not a great deal else that we would want. Alright. Coral Barrier, I think. Not much else here does a lot. I don't think we can take Obelisk. We don't really have, maybe what, like Rat? Is that the only thing we have 2 of? Because we've got, well, a zombie bird, zombie. So we've got 2 zombies, but that's not enough. A demon, vampire, yeah. We have to get ridiculously lucky to get both of these, and then I guess that would be huge, but it's not really worth it on its own. So, Coral Barrier. I guess now we take the cat. No, we take Welcome Turn. I think we take Welcome Turn here. Bit more aggressive than the rest of our deck is trying to be, but it can still be good to clog up the ground and then put Welcome Turn down. This guy is not quite terrible, so pick that up. If you're in a position where you're willing to pay the 2 life and just to hit them for 4, then you're probably doing pretty well. And this card is pretty much exactly what you want. But if you're trying, if it is part of your plan to clog up the ground, then it's a 5 mana 4/3, which is pretty unexciting. Void Snare, I guess. Maybe we run that. It's not too exciting. We do have a lot of cards for where we're at in the draft, so hopefully we'll be able to improve this deck over the course of the last pack. Caustic Tar. Are we that defensive? I think we can be. Our current build isn't quite that defensive. I mean, we have a lot more of the evasive Welcome Turn, Carrion Crow, Accursed Spirit stuff, Juggernaut. But we do have some amount of defensive annoyances, so I'll pick this just because, you know, if we get enough to make the deck more defensive, then that would be all pretty good. If we're trying to be sort of the aggro tempo plan, then with, you know, flyers and frostlinks, then it probably won't make the cut. It's the only card for us here, and we don't really care about any of these, so take it. Not particularly excited to run both, but let's take a plummet away from someone since we have this giant demon. Come on. There we go. I'll take this, but I'd have no intention to run it. Sure. Alright, hopefully, like I said, we already have 22 cards, so we only really need to pick up one more card in the last pack. There are a bunch of cards in here, like Hot Soup and the Tar, that I wouldn't mind getting rid of if we can find replacements. Like another Accursed Spirit, which doesn't really go in the Caustic Tar plan, but it could easily replace Caustic Tar. I mean, they both just deal 3 damage to the opponent every turn, and this one's cheaper. Path Mage could be good. Peel for Reality could be good. We don't really have a lot of ways to abuse Peel, just the one Frost Links. But ways to abuse Peel often show up of their own accord. And we can also take Path Mage or another Juggernaut. Path Mage is literally less amazing in this deck because we've already got, you know, Intimidate guys and flying and flying and flying and just can be flying and like so big that they don't particularly want to block it. Same with Juggernaut. I mean, Path Mage giving Juggernaut unblockable is big game, but 2 Juggernauts is also pretty big game. So many dual lands, okay. Paragon, not really, so again, Peel or a 3rd Accursed Spirit. I think it's just 3rd Accursed Spirit. This card's so good. And I think our chances of coming up against someone else who's also playing black are actually pretty low, given how well all of the black cards have been flowing for this whole draft. There's probably like 1 other person playing black in the entire pod, maybe 2. So we have a reasonable chance of not coming up against any of them. And we've picked up the Juggernauts. There's probably some Bronze Sables out there, and like Willforged columns and whatnot, but we have a good chance of these just getting through most of the time. So yeah, Caustic Tar isn't happening. Take another Coral Barrier. Not really that amazing. Insult Artifact just turns a 3/3 or a 5/3 into a 5/5, which is definitely not worth the card, because Hot Soup probably isn't making the deck. Well, maybe it is, because it's so good on Juggernaut. I'll figure that out later. But I think just Coral Barrier from this pack. All in, dealer. And there's a lot of 4s. I would love to pick up something a little bit cheaper, but instead I'll pick up another Path Mage. Or a first Path Mage, rather. These Welcome Turns are going to, sorry, not Welcome Turns, the Typhoid Rats are going to have to deal with a lot of early stuff to help us get to turn 4 and 5, where we can start laying out all of our things. It's going to be a little bit awkward in the early game. I really want Flesh to Dust, but I might just have to pick up Witch's Familiar just to be an early blocker. No, what am I saying? That's dumb. So yeah, in terms of early blockers, we've got 2 Typhoid Rats, we have a 1/3, this doesn't count, and a couple of Coral Barriers, and Frostlings and Gargoyle Sentinel. So we don't really have any, we don't have a great deal before turn 3. There are going to be a lot of games where we don't draw either of these rats in our opening hand. Black Cat, just to try to discourage attacks in the early game. It's not the worst plan ever. Because it is really sort of the early game that we're worried about. Because like later in the game, this becomes a lot less exciting. Like if they just have nothing in their hand anymore because they've already cast everything. But in the early game, there's probably something in their hand that they want to keep, and they might just not want to spin the wheel to find out if that's what they get to keep or whether that's what they're discarding. So this can, even if it would actually be right for them to just attack into it, to just lose a card at random, like 1 for 1 the cat with just a random card in their hand, sometimes they just won't and just leave it for a couple of turns and then attack into it, at which point we're happy if it just saves us a turn or two and lets us get up to all of our Accursed Spirits. Peel could help us survive to the later game, or sort of to the mid game. So good Child of Night, actually, that would be pretty nice. That was a good pickup. 31 cards, 25 creatures. Gonna have to make some cuts. Shadowclake Vampire is probably a cut, because we have so much evasive stuff at 4 that a temporarily evasive guy at 5 is not really what we want to do. I might cut Bloodhost just for curve reasons. We have so many 4s that we don't want this many 5s, and it's probably not that exciting. I mean, it's still a good card, but we're not like abusing this thing. It's not like we have this and like Ajani's Pride Mates or something. I mean, it's still reasonable, but I don't think it's something that we're going to really do. So I'll take it out. What else? We have 6 non-creature spells, which is probably fine, like Void Snare, Ulcerate, Peel, Into the Void, 2 Flesh Dusts. I think they'll all stay in. I think it's just creatures that we're cutting. Yeah, all of these I think stay in, except maybe the Void Snare. Void Snare goes in the maybe pile, which is over here. Come on. There we go. Also in the maybe pile is Black Cat. We probably shouldn't be running 4 Accursed Spirits, but I'm going to anyway. I don't care. Path Mage, it can make like Juggernaut unblockable, it can make itself unblockable, but we already have, between like 4 Accursed Spirits and all of that sort of other stuff, I don't think we're really... Like, Path Mage would still be good, but it's not as good as it would be in any other deck. Shade is probably pretty good because we're very heavy black, so we're probably going to be, 10-7 swamps or something, so this will get slightly bigger than normal. Though given it is 2 colours and a black, that you don't need to be that heavy black to be able to pull it off. On the other hand, it is pretty mana intensive, and we do have a pretty high curve. So if we cut all of those, where's that put us? 25. Maybe the Necromancer's Assistants? I mean, we're not really doing much with them. We're just hoping to block stuff with them. Probably definitely don't want 2 of them. Maybe don't want. Maybe that's the other cut. Maybe that'll Research Assistant. Research Assistant is not terrible though. It can do work. If we do get to the super late game, this guy's pretty reasonable. I mean, if you draw something that's blank and you weren't going to use that mana anyway. But we're not really hoping to get to that sort of super late game, because with 4 Accursed Spirits, 2 Welcome Turns, Flying Guy, Juggernauts, yeah, that doesn't seem to be fitting our plan. Alright, add basic lands. 11-6, no, 10-7. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, we still want to have blue reasonably early with Welcome Turns and Coral Barriers and such. So yeah, 10-7, and then we already picked up 2 islands. So there it is. I'll submit, and I'll see you guys in round 1.